Well, with the B20 process wrapping up now, the focus really is on G20, what lies ahead. But I think in terms of the B20 process, it has been quite remarkable in terms of what was hoped the objectives would be, how India has a huge role going forward in meeting some of those objectives. We've got a fantastic guest with us, the Confederation of Indian Industries chairperson designate. He's also the chairperson of ITC. Thank you very much, Mr. Puri, for being with us. The Prime Minister spoke about green credits. How is that an important part of India's commitment to other G20 countries going forward to meet sustainable development goals?
Well, thank you, Vishnu, for having me here in your show. So I think it's extremely important because, so far, and that's what has emanated from the Western thinking is primarily around decarbonization. Now, decarbonization is important, no doubt about it. But decarbonization, let us remember, is something that will benefit when temperatures start going down. And that's going to be some time away. For now, temperatures will go up. And we have seen how bad situation becomes just from 1.1 to 1.2, which we are now. And IPCC says will be 1.5 in the near term. So that aspect is, decarbonization is only one facet of it. We also need to look at nature. We need to look at adaptation because we need to be able to carry on life with good success even as the temperature events become more frequent and more severe. So nature and nature positive is very important. The other bit is also that to do decarbonization in the absence of a sustainable lifestyle is also a suboptimal solution. And that's where I think the Prime Minister's program called LIFE it plays a very important role. So I think bringing in through this green credit, this whole concept about nature, the whole concept about a sustainable lifestyle, I think that was what was being looked at, right? And I think that's very important and perhaps some facets of it even more important.
Absolutely. So how would financing decarbonization work, because India has a huge stake in this process?
So it's a very important facet because we do need resources to be able to do it, and it's a very complex issue and an area where I think at a global level progress has not been adequate because the West was also supposed to provide some resources to the global South, and what has come so far is meager. Right? Even the data I saw of 1920 on decarbonization, we need, it said 2 to 4 trillion per year.
Yes.
And for adaptation about 350 billion. What we got in 1 year was 650, at a global level, out of which only 49 came to the adaptation. Now, so it is a problematic area. So what can be done is, to give you some ideas here, I think one is that half of those resources come from public resources, whether it's India or globally. I think we have to scale up availability of public resources, and I think the G20, one of the facets being looked at is how to enhance the role of multilateral development organizations. I think there the resources need to be enhanced. So that is, I think, one important area. As far as private capital is concerned, now roughly about 40% or so, or maybe between 35 to 40 comes from private sources. So private capital can come on an accelerated fashion based on economic returns. And how do you get economic returns? There are some areas where economic viability is there, but there may be some friction in the regulation that is bringing some additional costs to it.
Sure.
So if we can deal with that, that is one facet. There are other areas where viable technology is not there. So that's an area for public-private partnership to really develop technology that is accessible. I think that will also, once it is accessible and there's a return on it, and every company today knows they have to go that path. There is no choice. So once the economics become right, I think the adoption is going to be faster, and it will unlock a lot more private funds into it. So both these facets, I think, are the areas that can come in.
So the Sustainable Development Goals Acceleration Fund is what you were referring to, essentially.
So that's another part of it. I am sorry I missed saying that.
Yes.
Thank you for pointing that out. One is the role of multilateral institutions. That is also one of the points that is been reported in the media for G2. I think what was spoken about today, the SDGs Acceleration Fund, that's another great idea where both private capital and public capital can come together and create a corpus for investment.
Right. Just one or two questions more. I know you're hard pressed for time. India has a wonderful program of digitalization that's defined many aspects of our future economic growth, even present. Is that something that can be replicated elsewhere? Is there interest among B20 nations, G20 nations in replicating parts of that?
I believe there is tremendous interest, and I can say so based on my own interactions also. I think the manner in which this digital public infrastructure has empowered the economy, both for creating business ecosystems as also providing welfare to those who need it. I think that point is well appreciated, and it's a system which is efficient. The costs are in the system are minimal. I think it's definitely the way to go, particularly for emerging and developing economies. It would be, I think, it would bring great value to the economy, and India is a testament to that. India's growth that we are seeing through economic progress is also contributed by the development that has happened on account of this whole ecosystem.
A final question on financial inclusion, which is really what it's all about. India has a very rich demographic dividend right now. We are the world's most populous nation, a very young workforce as well. But in order to meet our future aspirations, we need to bring in more women into the workforce. Therefore, when one speaks about financial inclusion, it is to a very large extent about getting women into the workforce. Could you tell us a little bit about how that is an essential goal?
It is definitely an essential goal, and in the recent past we have seen greater attention to this subject in India, and we are seeing progress. And I will say so for my own company also. We are now paying a lot more attention to this area, and systematically we have to deal with the issue, and as we are dealing with it systematically, we are also seeing progress. And this whole issue about financial inclusion is certainly on the gender side is one, but I think the whole pot has to be expanded also, because even irrespective of the gender, there are many more who need to be brought into the to be provided good quality of jobs.
Yes.
Right? And I think this is India's moment. The whole world is looking at India for its domestic market, an opportunity to use this as a hub for other markets, for manufacturing, for services, and that's where our demographic dividend can really be leveraged. This is the opportunity, and in the new world order also, I think there are more greater amount of interest. So we have to create and expand the economic pot so that we create more opportunities for everybody.
So wonderful speaking to you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
indeed. Well, Mr. Puri over there telling us a little bit about sustainable development goals going forward, what India's strategy is, what some of the B20 outcomes are, and financial inclusion, what it really entails. It's been a fairly remarkable B20 process. Will some of the goals which we've looked at over here be translated into real results? It's back to the studio.